Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the second session of Shift in 2020. If you did not manage to join us this morning, we kicked off with a keynote by Dr. Grichting, speaking about co-creating and regenerating our planet for a peaceful and purposeful future. For our second session, we will give the floor to Mateja Kramar, where she will speak on the topic, How can technology support sustainable innovation? Before we hand it over to Mrs. Kramar, we would like to talk to you about her expertise and background. Mateja Kramar is a serial entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience as a sustainable innovation advisor, marketing expert, guest lecturer, and speaker. She is currently working at Microsoft as a senior business development manager. Now that you know a little bit about Mateja, it's time to find out how creativity, entrepreneurial spirit, and technology can be perceived as the three pillars supporting sustainable innovation. As a kind reminder, please be aware that during this keynote session, all attendees are muted. And we kindly ask you, if you have any questions or remarks, to make use of the question function within your GoToWebinar dashboard. We will then make sure that the questions will find their way to the speakers. Please, take it away, Mrs. Kramar.
My name is, as I say, Mateja Kramar. I would like to speak about the connection and of the importance of entrepreneurship, innovation, and sustainability to all of you, and how these are interconnected. So I would say that sustainability, entrepreneurship, and innovation are the three horizontals or umbrellas over all industries, all verticals, wherever we go. Whatever we innovate, it's connected to technology, and whatever we innovate, we have to think about sustainability about it and how we are developing the world or what we are implementing newly. Why sustainability? I don't think I have to talk a lot about it. We all know about it, but I think what is not said enough is that when we reach point of sustainability, it means that we come to the neutral point. It means that whatever we do should be 100% making the current status less bad or worse than it is. That means sustainable. But if we wouldn't be adding so much damage the last 250 years of industrialization and 5,000 years of deforestation and agriculture, we could be sustainable. But we need to being sustainable is not enough. We need to regenerate and we need to recover what we damaged. And this is called regeneration and recovery, which you might hear also a lot of times now, like especially with regenerative agriculture. Coming back, starting from here now to implement whatever it is, it's a lot of work to do to recover the current soil and the current status of the earth to be even able to become sustainable. But otherwise, sustainability, I think it's very logical for all of us, why and how. Since I'm currently working for Microsoft, I was before 25, 30 years entrepreneur for myself and with myself companies, or helping other companies or corporates become more advanced, more innovative, and last 5 to 10 years more sustainable. Currently, I'm working this at Microsoft, and before that, and still am at ETH Zurich. Originally, just to mention, I'm coming from Slovenia, which is one of the greenest countries in Europe and also has the best circular economy. Here in Switzerland, 12 years. So going back to the step 2, besides sustainability, it's technology. We all know that software and know-how and other technologies are the tools which are enabling us to do the sustainable development. So one case is, for example, where technology comes in is the access to clean water through water purification, efficiency, delivery, sanitation technologies. And then is access to clean energy, affordable, sustainable energy through energy efficient technologies and through alternative sources of energy. Technology is also helping us in the less toxic environment when we do the innovation in that. And being sustainable at the same time is putting in place alternative agriculture and industrial technologies to reduce the quality of toxicity of the raw materials and of the processes, as well as the treatment techniques. And The next, I would say that we also add a lot of technology to make the whole stable environment more sustainable with the use of technology by mitigating the effects of climate change. So again, more energy efficient processes, less emissions, and control of these emissions, and using geographical information systems to assist the land and the planning of the land, or even to monitoring deforestation and all that. So what is also technology, of course, is to manage the natural resources on the best way possible and on the most sustainable way. What I would mention also, which is not directly to nature, but it's very, very connected, is technology use of employment, of unemployment, to be enabled to bring employment. Education, of course, a big connection between highly educated and sustainable use of environment. And education also in the raise of awareness. This is all bringing technology via online, like we are doing just at the moment. And also the point here, which is not directly connected, but indirectly very important, is diversity and inclusion of people, including disabled people, a lot more women, and educated, less educated, educate them, and so on. Is here technology also in a not so direct, but very connected to sustainability. So, and then to come also governance regimes, which need to be monitored, and all the compliance and enforcement that needs to be implemented and measured by different technologies to be enabled to have a really tracking system about it. So one of the greatest challenges about technology and sustainability is that we need to bring all these sustainable development goals mainly to the third countries, which doesn't always mean, it's of course finance factor is a big factor, but it's far from that. Is only to some extent that financial issue can be a problem in the third countries, because as you know, in the western part, especially in Switzerland, we are developing certain things and technologies with a quite high-end expensive tools, which are not easy to apply or implement in the third countries. But it's not only that, it's a lot also of institutional frameworks that block developments in these countries, import, export, transfers, use of technologies for sustainable development, some quotas, tariffs, ability to import and to implement, and also a big issue is, of course, also political or corruption. So this was just one case. We wanted to bring for free demining drones with sensors to fly over the fields in Africa where there were after war zones to clear these areas of the mines, and the guys couldn't even enter the area. They were even threatened, even though they wanted to actually come there, save lives for free to do that. So it's always to think about also cultural and political issues. So many think it's only finance, and it's far from that. Just to have in mind when you try to have an impact or save the world, because as we know, it's still around 80% of all the sustainable development is very urgently needed, especially in the underdeveloped countries. So, and the third thing, so we have said technology and sustainability. The third is, of course, entrepreneurship. What I would say, why entrepreneurship? Because it's a good Buddha saying, you think you have time, but you don't. And it goes very well for sustainability, because with entrepreneurial thinking, it needs to be fast. We don't have time to become perfect, have a perfect top solution without any mistakes, developing somewhere in the corner with time, with years of research. No, we cannot do that. We have to be very entrepreneurial, hands-on. We have to resolute fast, have motivation, and above all, have passion, have vision, have mission, have a purpose and meaning, because at the very end, we all, or you all, will make impact with whatever you do. So it's a lot of action, proactivity, self-initiative, risk-taking, courage, creative upside-down thinking, persistence, endurance, resilience, be able to be exposed, to be vulnerable, allow yourself to be there and to be different, to think different, to speak out. And this is all entrepreneurial spirit that I don't see in the corporate world. It's even sometimes not very welcomed, as you can imagine. But I'm grateful because exactly because of that, I'm usually called to join, to bring that in, because it's more and more needed, faster action and more risk-taking, which means pragmatic risk-taking. It's not a crazy thing, but it's just, let's try it, because if you don't try it, you don't know what doesn't work. And there are no failures in sustainability. There is no expert in sustainability. It's such a broad topic overall, as we know. So we always also need, like with entrepreneurship teams, with startups, we need multidisciplinary teams. We need always somebody from technology. We need somebody from environment. We need somebody from maybe car industry or food processing industry or agriculture. So we need different experts in the area together to brainstorm and try it out. And whatever you try today in the sense of sustainability, you fail, it's not a failure. It's learning what doesn't work. So, and this is the very, very different approach from the very secure corporate way of thinking. So, because whatever it doesn't work, you share it so the others learn what doesn't work and try to do it differently, because we all live on the same planet and we are all trying to save the same. There is no competition, just a healthy competition that pushes us to be even faster and even better and even more thinkable. It's also entrepreneurial, because I think the saving the planet doesn't happen from 9 to 5. It happens with all the personal deeds beside our jobs. And if something is your passion, I don't believe it can be 9 to 5 anyway. So Franz, I will now ask you, I will share with you all one of the use cases I was part of. And it's a great use case of combination of sustainability technology and entrepreneurship, of what works and that doesn't work. So you will see the video and I will tell you. So please, Franz.
Jeder 10. Mensch leidet an Hunger. Weltweit gehen bis zu 60% der Nahrung während dem Anbau oder in der Weiterverarbeitung verloren. Bauern setzen Dünger und Pestizide ein. Diese verschmutzen jedoch die Natur und gefährden unsere Gesundheit. Die Schweiz ist bekannt für ihre nachhaltige Landwirtschaft. Gleichzeitig ist sie weltweit führend in Robotik, künstlicher Intelligenz und Sensortechnik. Alles Technologien, die für Smart Farming zentral sind. Denn damit kann die Gesundheit der Pflanzen laufend überwacht werden. Interventionen erfolgen nur, wo nötig. Mit dem Matterhorn-Projekt Swiss Smart Farming von Digital Switzerland wollen wir die Schweiz zu einem führenden Land für Smart Farming machen. Universitäten, Startups, Unternehmen und Politik ziehen an einem Strick für diese Vision. So bringt die ETH beispielsweise ihr Know-how für Solardrohnen ein. Damit können großflächig Informationen über den Zustand von Feldern gesammelt werden. Das Mobilfunknetz von Swisscom wiederum ermöglicht es, dass Drohnen sicher fliegen und Informationen an Feldroboter weitergeben können. Gemeinsam mit einem laufend wachsenden Konsortium an Partnern will das Projekt einen Beitrag für eine nachhaltige Welternährung leisten und spannende neue Arbeitsplätze schaffen.
So this was the start of the big, huge ambition to digitalize the least digitalized industry probably in the world, and at the same time one of the most important and essential industries, which is food, and so agriculture. So everything from field to fork, which is very well, I think, we connected with everybody of us daily, but maybe even more with Roches also directly, because it's a big part of hospital industry, the hospitality industry. So we were trying to bring with ETH top technology, with the drones, with the satellite data, with drones, with all the possible equipments, with ground data in the soil, to fly over the fields, and as you saw with the video, to bring more sustainable agriculture to the world, to become the role model for the global environment with the techniques that we would develop and learn here. Also fail possibly, but just do it. What I was trying to do, I was leading the project together with ETH, and the first partners that joined were Bühler and Microsoft. And we were trying to bring together different, like 20 main partners from field to fork from Switzerland, like a consortium, to invest into this research, which would last 1 or 2 years, and then move on, scale on or fly off, to learn as much as possible with these drones and with this data, to use at the very end 80% less water, 80 to 90% less pesticides, less crops protection products, use precision farming, learn more about diseases through these sensoring techniques and all that. While we were having fields in the research environment, which means closed, very regulated environment, which is the first, let's say, a little bit mistake, because it's far from reality, pretty far from reality. We were flying over that, and I was curious, how come nobody wants to join? What was missing here? And I needed, when I joined also then, beside robotics and drones department, I joined with one foot also agriculture department when I learned fast forward about agriculture and sustainability and environment. And I realized that I had to go to farmers and talk to them, to the real farmers, which you wouldn't believe they are not very, very different from farmers from Southern America or India or Africa in the sense of mindset. They are depending on the weather. This is their land. This is their usually family land. And 80% of food globally that we eat today is coming from the small family farms, and around 75% from the underdeveloped countries. So imagine to bring some new technology to these farmers who are living actually from field to fork, so from hand to mouth, to bring to them the new technology which they don't understand. The average age is around 60 to 65 of the farmer. Generation after generation, they were doing the same. Coming there and trying to change them with the drones, with the robotics, with the sensors, with data, they had no idea what I was talking about or what we were talking about. So how to change them, what to do, start new. Then on the way, I also realized, like I said on the start, sustainability is not enough. We cannot implement techniques on using less pesticides and less water. It's okay, but first, what is happening with the core of where our food is coming from? This is the soil. And I learned fast forward everything possible about the soil, and about the soil as a source of life. Not only that, but also one of the greatest carbon sequestration, which is not possible if the soil is almost dead. And the 70% of the soil that we're having on the planet, it's almost dead. So we need to regenerate it. We need to recover this soil. And I started almost from scratch. I learned that the techniques that we were thinking and doing and implementing and measuring and flying with drones on ETH was the right thing to do. And here we will go on. I didn't know a thing, obviously, and not all of them are around me, which they were mostly from the technology departments and drones. Imagine when you go then to agriculture, it's again different. It's still research agriculture, but then you go to the real life when you want to implement it, and you realize that you need this entrepreneurship is always hand in hand with reality. Really working hands-on what is going on, which was for me being on the field, trying to find a startup who would be able to produce the sensors on a scale that are affordable for the farmers, not only here in Switzerland, but also in the third world. Means that the sensor for one farm is not costing $500 or $1,000 or euros or francs, but is costing 1 to 50 max. How do you get to that? How do you make them to scale? How do you include them? We found that I found a startup. I included them under Microsoft for startups to help them scale. We have a platform developed at Microsoft. It's called FarmBeats. But still there was a big gap. We have this huge amount of data flying over the real fields then with the real ground sensors in the soil measuring the moisture and temperature of the soil and of the air. What was important, the most important to know for the farmer, how to do it. How will we know what then with all the data to do? So I realized that the core thing is first to regenerate the soil. With regeneration of the soil in a couple of years, we will start sequestrating carbon, which can get incentivized for the incentives for the farmer. But how will you convince him when he doesn't understand or she doesn't understand why to do it, or have no return on investment directly, cannot see it? So it's not only how you saw how we started. Now we are at the point that we need to regenerate the soil. We need an online education for farmers, wherever it's possible, to have online education to tell them that it's close to organic farming. It's far from bio farming, but it's something in between how to regenerate the soil. It's simple because it's just imitating the nature and bring biodiversity back and bioforestry. The next step on parallel happened. It's possible to get the farmers to learn about the vertical farming. Go and take over the vertical farms, urban farms, leave the land to those who are specialized in regenerating the soil, and lead them to regenerate the soil, bring the biodiversity back while they are working on the new vertical farms, which will also bring new generations to make. That was a project called Let's Make Farming Sexy Again, to bring new generations to study and to go and become farmers, because after this generation we are having a huge gap of farmers, and that's all the food that we have. It's coming from farming mostly. And it's the essential thing, as we saw now with COVID, more and more people were a little bit more aware how food is important and how important it is to take care of our system. So this is the road we went through, from the total robotic, total innovation, sensors, top research, to getting really grounded that we need to first see, and it's something so essential as food, as everybody should know a little bit about it. It's our fuel daily, but I learned enormously. I'm still learning, but at the very end, it's so that we are coming back to basis. We are on the route now. It's bumpy, but we are getting somewhere from all the sides in initiative, bringing together the ideas. So one core thing for the conclusion, I would say also, it is very different from the normal business world, is that whatever we do now with innovation and sustainability, it's about sharing our experience, sharing our failures, sharing our learnings. So like I do now, what all we have to include, say it, speak it out loudly, so you hear others to talk about it, because we are in the same, as I said, same bottle, same bubble, same planet, helping each other to become more sustainable and to bring innovation on as fast as possible and as sustainable as possible. Always have in account holistic sustainability, which means if you collect a lot of data, you know that data centers on the other side are a huge polluter. If you develop batteries for the car, it's also how they are made, how much are they using, what will be when they are over, how will they look, are they able to be recycled, what is happening. So taking care of all the cycle, it's not only innovation or invention there, saving these first 5-10 years, what happens then? So having the long-term holistic approach, how it will work, share, care, be there, do it 24/7. And that's, I think, it's from my side everything. Now, if there are any questions, I'm here.
Well, thank you very much, Mateja. That's great. I mean, I've got one question coming in right now, but just before that, I mean, you're talking about these regenerating of the soil and educating these older generations often. Are the new generations not necessarily interested, or are we seeing maybe a change in the middle class, that therefore more people are moving away from farming altogether and that they're not so interested? because it also goes to these older generations are eventually going to have to give their businesses towards the new generation. And obviously the new generation is the one that we need to get ready for this kind of things. Is there at this point you feel a gap in between of because if there's only 60-year-olds, let's say it like this,
it's a huge gap.
Yeah,
it's a huge gap. This is the last generation that has nobody from the family working after school, which used to be before after school, directly helping on the farm.
correct.
They are leaving the villages or leaving even the whole states altogether. As we all know, farming is not particularly easy job. It's very hard job, and with soil being more and more dead, and with use of more and more pesticides, and with so much blaming of the farmers. So one of the key things I didn't mention is here of the whole sustainability is trust. So
Right.
that's why, again, just to mention here, with everything that we do, especially with food, is traceability and transparency, which is again blockchain maybe, and again technology to bring it more sustainable, to bring trust again, to be able to trace it where it's come from, food. Is it true what they're doing? Maybe even with a camera, with open doors, whatever is there possible to do that. And as soon as technology is involved with farming, with sensors, with satellite sensors, with those who can analyze this data, this is all bringing new generations to be finally a little bit more interesting. Now, what a couple of really techie farmers are doing, this is like incredible. They are actually having press of the buttons on their phone, and their John Deere tractor, it goes away and exactly it sprays where it needs to be sprayed, pulls out. So it's in a way almost like a computer game.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, no, those machines are becoming now so advanced. Those John Deere tractor machines are now no longer to just be fixed. They have to go to get a software update and all these things.
They're like robots, right?
But then exactly, that also goes when it comes to the third world countries. We're having obviously also a lack of internet coverage, good internet coverage, if we will. This kind of technology will often require internet as well. Obviously, in the video it said Swisscom has a very suitable and good network here in Switzerland. Are we able to implement these things out in the third world countries?
Yes, this is the thing that it's interesting. If you type in FarmBeats, farmbeats.com, like Beats, farmbeats.com, it's from Microsoft. You can see that it was developed exactly for that. How to bring connectivity in the parts of the world where there is no. So the scientist in Seattle of Microsoft, Ranvir Chanda, he's Indian himself, but born in Seattle. He was trying to bring that through white spaces, from the TV white spaces. So it's a bit complicated, or it's very easy on the end. But from these white spaces, so the spaces of the frequencies that are in the air for free flying, you can catch them through a certain tool, and they have this connectivity there on the farms. So they are only bringing that, which is of course the core to do something in the third world.
And it also goes for the prices, because obviously the technology is not necessarily going to be very cheap, obviously. But
this is for free then. But you wouldn't imagine that even in Washington State, when there are these huge fields in the U.S., some states are not very even, so it's not flat. So they have some parts where there is no connectivity, and they're trying to get other ways to find connection there to see what's going on. So yes, as soon as it's something TV, it's almost everywhere. So with TV connection and the phone connection. So with TV connection, you can have this actually for free in the third world. The most important is there then the use of sensors. The thing is, we had a great story with one company, with one corporate. They brought for free in Africa sensors to use the water only, so to irrigate only where the land was needed.
Yeah.
And it was all good since they discovered last 10-20 years they are running out of water forever. And they did a hard action, really hardcore, fast action with engineers in this company, and they came down and till they were sitting there with the farmers and tell them, look, when it's green, go, you don't need to irrigate. When it's red, go and spray there and there. So you would save 80% of water for the whole village, for drinking, for everything.
Amazing. Yeah.
And when they went away, they just said, no, we don't need it. So it's just it's frustrating because you see people, and especially, let's say, children or women. That's why education is so important, that they know, because sometimes we need just one champion to step in and say, look, we'll do it. That's how it's done, because we need water to survive. And if wrong people are there, you can implement everything in the third world, you show them everything, but will they use it, or will you need to sit there for them?
Maybe in the beginning, just to introduce it, obviously, and maybe then afterwards.
There were cases they were sitting for half a year, they moved there, but then they went away. It was old way again.
Perfect.
It's just, it's
that's
not,
it. Old habits die hard, as they say.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly go over to a question from Wendy Jones. She said, at Changing Streams, we are working to reduce dependency on plastic in the construction industry. One of the things that we want to do is to establish a knowledge platform to enable companies up and down the supply chain to identify sustainable alternatives to the plastic components so often used in the industry, from packaging right through to cladding, piping, etc. Is this something that Microsoft could potentially help Changing Streams with?
I mean, definitely. With everything that we go now, for example, it's exactly in the supply chain. It's a big gap in supply chain on the focus on it's an agriculture, and in food at the end, it's a lot done. It's a lot action, but in supply chain, there is a big gap in between. So very welcome to write me directly in the contact you will get from Le Roche, because everything is possible as long as there is a will and there is a brainstorming how to do it. Technology can hugely support it to detect and to calculate where it's needed, and as you know, machine learning then to also calculate where it's not only needed to implement non-plastic, but also what it happens, because some things are really great in circulation or even in later use or reuse, whatever is possible. So,
so again, goes back to the sharing economies in that sense.
In that sense, or I would say optimization, which also goes, because recycling itself, it's great, but also what I said, it has to be holistically. If you're developing shoes from material that are able to be recycled, was just one story recently, and you can change the shoes every half a year, is this really sustainable? So you have a shoes that will fall apart around 3-4 months or let's say maybe you don't wear them so much once a year. But still production, it's still transportation, it's still light, it's water, it's work, it's energy for these shoes to be made and then to recycle. So is it really that better than the old shoes for 5 years? So it's always
bring it to the shoe man, to get them fixed instead of throwing them away. Give them a second life in that sense. Yeah.
Exactly. And also, some people will throw it away as long as the color is not purple as it should be, and the others will wear it with some glue on. So it's a very wide and maybe even cultural and personal values included into that. But I think we in developed world, we don't know what the real crisis is. That's why the sustainability is going a bit too slow.
No, you're right. I think maybe that's
well, yeah.
So we have to continue working. I mean, excuse me. There's plenty of things left to talk about, but looking at the time, we should start to round it off. So I would just like to thank you very much, Mateja, for this this interesting topic that you just shared with us. And obviously, it is interesting also to see that those big companies are now giving back to sustainability, obviously with the power that they have when it comes to utilizing their technology knowledge, and people like you that are at the forefront of this. So we're definitely not done.
Microsoft is itself becoming, as you know, carbon neutral and carbon negative. With its own actions and with its own software and whatever we produce. But on the other hand, we are reaching out to our clients to help them become more sustainable, because maybe they don't know how to use technology, just like it was asked for the supply chain. They have an idea, but they don't know how. So here we are but to be honest, we cannot push them.
No.
Because you can offer them, we re-offer, we remind them, we are here for that. We have a lot of knowledge, a great connection with the startups, with Microsoft for Startups, because they dare more and they try out faster than corporates.
Right.
So we
but
are
initial
here.
investment will also have to maybe be part of it. And again, old habits die hard. Maybe they're not willing to go to that point, but that's why we need to have these kind of sessions that we can actually push.
Definitely, and I would add something that is politics and law. Sometimes they have to be pushed to change.
Yes, absolutely.
So fingers crossed for good politicians. Also, especially let's say in farming, the pesticides. If they are pushed without pesticides, you get incentives from the government. With pesticides, you don't get it. So figure it out.
So,
and our project was offering solution. So there is a solution. You just have to go and change yourself.
We the people will have to make the change. Mateja, thank you so very much for this time. I would like to also ask the audience if you guys have not joined or registered for the next session that will be taking place at 2 p.m. today, Central European Time. Please do so yet, because we still have availability for you to join. And this will be done by Alex Arabi, who will be talking about our innovative future with responsible biometrics. Please, we hope to see you all there in the next session. And for now, I would just like to round off with, once again, thank you, Mateja. I wish you a very pleasant day, and we look forward to seeing you in the other sessions.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.